the Empowerment Minutes podcast, the compass for everything learning, leadership coaching, and personal growth. I am your host, Dr. Maurine Kwende. I'm a learning leader, educator, and executive leadership coach who's passionate about helping organizations develop their leaders to become leaders people want to work for and become the place people want to work. So that's what we do at my company, EMK Learning Solutions. Connect with me, and I will be glad to help you and your organization. So, as you know, those who have been tuning in this month, we've been focusing on the theme of agile leadership. So, if you are tuning in for the first time, every month we have a pick a theme, and then we record episodes that are different topics under that theme. So we have been on the theme of agile leadership throughout the month of July. So I want to welcome you back for those who are, returning. We're so glad you're tuning in again. And so today the topic is that of agile decision making. We know that decision making is a critical skill of leadership. You cannot lead if you cannot make decisions. So today we're going to be talking about agile decision making, speed and precision in agile decision making. So we'll explore not only the essentials of making quick decisions, but also looking at it from the perspective of how accurate the decisions are. Then we're going to also segue into some of those tools that can help you to make agile decisions. And then we're going to get into some examples in organizational settings. So let's go ahead and begin. So what is agile decision making, and why is it crucial? Agile decision making is crucial in today's rapid changing business environment because it is, we all know what time of the day it is, right? Things are changing, right? We're in the world of AI. As a leader, you have to have an agile mindset when it comes to leading your people, right? Because of the fast changing, business landscape. So you have to not only become an agile leader, you also have to have agile decision making skills. So agile decision making combines the quick reflexes needed to respond to immediate challenges with the foresight to maintain the strategic direction. So what really makes decision making agile? Really is about speed, but not just about speed. It's also about accuracy, precision, and adaptability of your decisions in response to changes and conditions. So if we think about emergency situations like maybe there's a fire or there's a business emergency, right? Or maybe think about the COVID that we had not long ago, right? As a leader, you had to think on your feet. You had to be able to make those decisions with those quick changes that are happening. You have to decide quickly, right? So how do you leverage agile leadership to make those decisions? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So what is included, right? What are the key features of agile decision making? Speed is one of them. You want to be able to make decisions quickly to stay ahead of market changes. You've heard of situations where there's a product that it's being launched in the market, right? And then you'll be amazed that many people have that same idea, but they never took the decision. They were like, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And someone who was able to make those decisions and pivot got there sooner than later. So it's really about making decisions to stay ahead of the market changes. Another key feature or characteristic is precision. We want to be able to make quick decisions as a leader, right? Agile decision making. However, how accurate are those decisions, right? How relevant are they? You have to be able to have data, accurate data to support and back that decision making. Right, and then also the feature of empowerment, delegating decision-making authority to the front lines. It is critical with agile leadership. You want to be able to empower your people to make those quick decisions, where real-time responses are crucial. So how do you do that, right? So that's also critical with agile decision making. Then there's flexibility. Oh yes, flexibility. There is no way you can call yourself an agile leader if you're not having flexibility as one of your values, or you're not great at flexibility, because it's changing. Things are changing, and you have to think on your feet. So, how do you go about it then when you're not flexible, right? So, flexibility is crucial. It's going to be leverage, flexibility, so you can be able to pivot and reverse decisions as new information emerges regarding the particular situation. So we've talked about what agile leadership is. We've talked about what agile decision making is, and we've also talked about what are the characteristics, what are the key features of agile decision making. We've talked about speed, precision, empowerment, flexibility. I'm going to add to that innovation. You got to be able to embrace, change, right? Doing new things, right? Trying even doing the same thing in a new way, right? You got to be able to embrace innovation. So those are characteristics there that you want to think about. So if there is another key feature or characteristic I know I've not talked about, I'll be glad to hear what your options are, your suggestions are. We're learning from each other, so by all means, please feel free to chime in. When I post this episode, feel free to add some of your thoughts in the comment section, so everybody can learn. We learn from each other, and we grow, especially in this topic of agile decision making. So we've talked about what it is. We've talked about the importance. Talked about the key features and characteristics. Now, what are some of the tools that can help you to make agile decision making? What are some of the tools I can recommend? So there are so many tools out there. Maybe even something as simple as making smart goals, or OKRs. Another thing is integrating design thinking, right, as a framework that can help also as a tool and a framework to help empathize with users and stakeholders, thereby refining their problem definition, right? So value proposition canvas is another tool that ensures that there's a good alignment with customer needs, and what their pain points are. So you can use these approaches to facilitate a more human-centric and market-oriented definition of problems and goals. Most often, especially with the agile digital age that we are right now, people are starting to forget that regardless, we still need to focus on the human aspect. We still need our critical thinking skills, right? So design thinking definitely is going to help you to leverage it from that perspective as a tool. Now, there are so many other decision making frameworks like the sniffing frameworks. Many of them that just you can leverage those to help leaders to characterize their problems. Because decision making, why you're making a decision, there's a problem, right? You're trying to solve a problem. So, using frameworks that would help you to characterize the problems and then decide on the approaches based on the complexity of the situation would help you, right? How about leveraging some real time data dashboards, right? Using those kind of tools to provide you with, up to date minute data that would enable leaders to make informed decision quicker, right? Most people are visual, right? So those dashboards would help them to visualize what the current situation is, so that they can, with people thinking pictures. So with that, then they can, quickly take action, right? And make those decisions quickly. There are so many other agile project management tools that can also be used in this case. Common ones are like the Jira, the Trello boards. You can use that because with the agile framework, it's about making quick iterations, right? You have to think on your feet. You have to constantly evaluate and pivot, right? So using some of those tools would help you to make those quick iterations. Also get into some feedback loops, which are essential for agile decision making. Now you can also look at other things like scenario planning softwares that you can use to simulate different decision outcomes and choose what the optimal path forward is under the different scenarios. So these I've mentioned about 6 different tools that you can use in this case. What are some of the other tools that you're using when it comes to agile decision making? Right? Please feel free to share those as well. And now let's talk about implementing agile decision making. Right? So first of all, like I shared earlier on, um, it requires, it requires a shift in mindset, right? You have to be able to have a growth mindset. You have to be able to, uh, embrace the shift in culture. Because right now, if you are working maybe for a stagnant industry, like maybe the government space or the utility space, where decision making, agile decision making, it's not that easy. What do you need to do then to have a shift in mindset? What do you need to do to make the change in culture, right? So that you can make some of those changes. With agile decision making, just like even if it's just a standard decision making, it starts with a problem, right? So you want to be able to clearly define what the problem is that you're trying to solve, and then what are the goals, right, that you're aiming for, right? And then also it helps you to narrow down what the scope is of your decision, and we know that there are different types of decisions and decision making, right? So we're not going there today, but just think about how your goals could help you narrow down the scope of your decision, and then identify the criteria, the constraints, and then at that point you can communicate your expectations to others, right? So hopefully you're not making the decision by yourself as a leader. You're part of a team, right? So being able to communicate those effectively is critical. And then you can also use problem solving tools in addition to establishing your SMART goals, and then or your OKRs, objectives and key results, so that you can use that to frame your problem and goal in a concise and measurable way, right? So I already mentioned having a growth mindset. Another model that many people in the learning and development space use is the Agile model, right? So you want to be able to start first of all to gather enough data, right? Gather the data as much as possible, and so you can analyze your data, and from analyzing your data, you can be able to, progress to making implementation of whatever the decision you've made on the and where you're going with it, and then don't wait until the end to evaluate. You got to be able to leverage iterative evaluation throughout, right? Because you're making small changes, you have to be able to measure to see if they're working, and then you can make changes right away versus wait until the whole process is done. Remember that you're looking at a changing environment. You might not have the time to sit all day, to go all the way like a circle and then start evaluating it. So you just want to be able to evaluate if it's working through all the steps of the process. So in addition to the strategies, other things you want to think about is empowering your team. We all know about micromanagers who don't want to delegate work, who say, I'm better at doing it than anybody else, right? We want to do the opposite here. You want to be able to empower your teams. So by doing that, you're giving them autonomy and confidence in making decisions at all levels. And many times, managers, leaders would empower their team with just maybe a specific task. You'll be surprised when you empower your team to make decisions over an entire project. You'll be amazed what they're going to come up with and how that could help support you as a leader. And you can leverage that to foster teamwork and also build trust within the team. Okay, so empower your team to understand what agile methodologies are, help them to understand and learn, up their skills where they need to make those changes so they can be equipped to make those decisions, right? And then have open communication, right? You want to be able to maintain clear channels of feedback and updates as much as possible, where this is really vital for making informed decisions. So we've talked about the characteristics there. We've talked about innovation. Another thing you want to consider is that of experimentation. You're doing something for the first time, you got to give yourself room to experiment, right? So allow room for experimentation, testing, learning from mistakes. You don't want a culture of perfectionism, right? You are vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable as a leader to say, hey, I can make this mistake just like you. It's really about learning from it. So, embrace, encouraging experimentation where you give room for testing and learning from mistakes, which are all fundamental to the agile process. So that's it. Have you learned a thing or two? You know, in today's fast paced world, becoming or being an agile leader means being prepared, informed, and ready to pivot. Embracing agile decision making and the tools and principles can help dramatically enhance your leadership effectiveness and your team's ability to succeed in a dynamic environment. So, I want to encourage you to leverage agile decision making. So, that's it for this week's podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into the Empowerment Minutes podcast. Don't miss our next episode as we wrap up this topic of agile leadership next week. Until then, stay agile, lead with confidence. Thank you so much for tuning in. I would love to hear from you. Share how you've implemented some agile decision making in your leadership. Connect with us on social media. Leave your comments on our podcast platform. And see you next time. This is Dr. Maurine Kwende signing off.